The story of Kennedy and Trump has changed the course of history forever. August 23rd, 2024 will forever be known as the day we turned the corner and took back our great nation and changed the course of history and brought hope to a free world. Join me as we relive the strange relationship between Kennedy and Trump, leading to their return to the White House to make America healthy and great again. I spent 2 years following the Kennedy and Trump campaigns. Long before the two men ever considered running for president, Kennedy sued Trump and stopped him from building a golf course near the Hudson River. After Trump won the presidency in 2016, he recruited Kennedy to look into vaccine safety issues. Kennedy was forced out the door after clashing with a man by the name of Anthony Fauci. But the assassination attempt on President Trump's life brought Kennedy and Trump closer than ever. From rivals to collaborators, from foes to friends, this is the story of Kennedy and Trump. You can download the book for free right now by going to kennedy&trump.com. That's kennedy&trump.com. My name is Greg Fernandez Jr. God bless you all.
Okay, next question.
All right, the next question is from Greg, and he's asking if you will pray for him. He says he wants to be a stronger Christian, a better father, and a loyal husband. And then he goes on to say how much he enjoys the show and is inspired by the content.
Greg, thank you so much for asking me to pray for you. I consider that an honor. God tells us to pray for one another and to carry one another's burdens. And the fact that you have a burden to be a better Christian, a more loyal husband, a better dad for your kids, that's awesome. So yes, I will pray for you that God will give you a deep heart of love for God, love for your wife, and a devotion and loyalty to raising your kids in the way they should go.
Awesome. All right, we are now going to go through. We are starting at the top of page 33 is where we are starting here today, or page 41 in the PDF. This is the updated version that I have updated. So this will be coming out very soon. I'm looking forward to the worldwide distribution of the Kennedy and Trump book. This has been an amazing ride. Thank you all for all of your support, for everyone who is going to read it, who has read it, who looks forward to the audiobook, who will get it, buy it, download it for free right now. I will upload the most recent version, this version that I'm reading through right now. I will be uploading that hopefully later today. I'll upload that to replace the old PDF. So if you got the old PDF, you got something special, because now we got the new PDF, and that is what I'm going to read from here today. And once again, starting on page 33 of the physical book and page 41 of the PDF. All right, let's get into this. See how far we can get today. Top of page 33. RFK Jr. also predicted what a second Trump presidency would look like. A second Trump presidency would be bad for the country, wrote Kennedy. President Trump had his chance. He failed. He said he'd drain the swamp. Instead, he filled his government with corporate insiders. He said he'd cut the deficit, but bloated it instead. He said he'd put America first. Instead, he let bureaucrats like Tony Fauci shut down the entire country. We don't know what shape the next crisis will take. But we know there will be one. When it happens, we need a leader who can be trusted to stand for peace, to stand for freedom, and to stand for truth. Just going to check my audio for a second here. Make sure we're still rocking and rolling. Apologize for that. I always like to check the audio just in case. Sometimes it loves to switch back to the worst. Apologize for that. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, sounds good. Let's keep going here. On April 22nd, 2024, President Trump was asked about Kennedy running as an independent. I think he's a nice guy. I've known him, Trump responded. He's extremely liberal. He's more liberal than anybody. He's more liberal than the Green Party. I would imagine he'd not be good for them, but you don't know how that plays out. He gets a certain, not too many points, but he gets some. But they say he hurts Biden. I'm not sure that that's true. I think probably he hurts both, but he might hurt Biden a little bit more. You don't know. But he's got not a lot of points, maybe enough points to make a difference one way or the other, but he's a very liberal guy. On April 26, 2024, President Trump's stance on RFK Jr. took a turn for the worst as he labeled Kennedy as a Democrat plant and a radical left liberal who's been put in place in order to help crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States, get reelected. Trump also called a vote for Kennedy a wasted protest vote, adding those votes could swing either way, but would only swing against the Democrats if Republicans knew the true story about him. I was disheartened to read Trump label Kennedy as someone who is, quote, totally anti-gun. That is simply not true. During an interview with Glenn Beck, Kennedy specifically stated, "I'm not taking anybody's guns." Kennedy doesn't blame the guns when mentally ill people use them. Instead, Kennedy is looking at what is causing the mental illness. More on that later. I lived with RFK Jr. in New York, Trump wrote on Truth Social, and watched him convince governor to make environmental moves that were outright nasty. Upstate New York was not allowed to drill or frack as Ohio, Pennsylvania, and others ripped off New York energy. Because of this, prices have skyrocketed all over that part of the country, but especially upstate New York and New England. Their energy costs are the highest in the U.S., with the exception of California, run by Gavin Newsom, the worst governor in the state's history. I'd even take Biden over Jr. because our country would last a year or two longer prior to collapse, but it would be dead either way. His views on vaccines are fake, as is everything else about his candidacy. Let the Democrat have RFK Jr. They deserve him. Kennedy responded by challenging Trump to a debate. Instead of lobbying poisonous bombs from the safety of his bunker, let's hear President Trump defend his record to me mano a mano by respectful, congenial debate. Kennedy called President Trump the most adept debater in modern American political history and encouraged the former president to not be panicked to meet me on the stage. President Trump's rant against me is a barely coherent barrage of wild and inaccurate claims that should best be resolved in the American tradition of presidential debate. To preview my arguments, wrote Kennedy, I will show how President Trump betrayed the hopes of his most sincere followers. He promised to end the Ukraine war and then colluded with Speaker Johnson and President Biden to fund it. He let Big Pharma and his corrupt bureaucrats run roughshod over him as president. He promised to cut the deficit and ran up the biggest debt in history. Whoops. I don't know if you saw that or not. He promised to cut the deficit and ran up the biggest debt in history. He promised to run the government like a business and then close down our businesses. He promised to drain the swamp and then filled his administration with swamp creatures. He promised to protect our rights and then torpedoed the Constitution. Interesting. Getting a little heated here in April of 2024. The next day, April 28, 2024, President Trump posted a question on Truth Social. Why did Jr.'s family go so bonkers at the thought of him running against crooked Joe Biden? Because they are radical left lunatics, and they can't conceive of their even more liberal brother running as anything else. Trump called Kennedy's latest appearance with Bill Maher a really boring interview. After watching the full show, Trump believed Kennedy was far more liberal than Maher, and in fact, far more liberal than anyone running as a Democrat. Trump claimed Kennedy got kicked out of the Democratic Party because he was taking away votes from Biden. So I just need to make sure audio is okay. Okay, sounds good. Sorry, I just had a cat jump on my microphone. Okay, where was I? Trump claimed Kennedy got kicked out of the Democratic Party because he was taking away votes from Biden. So now Jr. is a so-called independent, but he's not. He's a radical left lunatic for trying to have it both ways. He said that no vaccine is safe and effective, and then said, I would never say that. I'm not anti-vaccine. Where did that come from? Maher defended the vaccine, which Jr. actually seemed to agree with. No Republican can vote for this guy, MAGA 2024. Pretty interesting stuff. I mean, it is really getting heated here in late April. And then we go into May of 2024. All right, continuing on. While taking questions from reporters outside of a New York courthouse on May 2nd, Trump was asked, would you debate RFK Jr.? Trump's response was hilarious and a lie. RFK, I don't know anything about him, Trump responded. Look, RFK is polling very low. He's a brief pause, not a serious candidate. They say he hurts Biden. I don't know who he hurts. He might hurt me. I don't know. But he has very low numbers, certainly not numbers that he can debate with. He's got to get his numbers up a lot higher before he's credible. But the numbers that he's taking away, they say, will be against Biden. I don't know. I'm not so sure, Trump continued. It could be a little bit against me, but I don't see him as a factor. I don't believe him. I think Trump understands what a huge factor RFK Jr. could play on Election Day. That's probably why Trump's team released a list of bullet points labeling Kennedy as just another far-left Democrat. The attack on Kennedy was a sign that the Trump campaign recognized him as a serious contender in the 2024 presidential race. The campaign reminded people Kennedy endorsed Hillary Clinton in 2000, 2007, and 2016. They wanted to tie Kennedy to Bernie Sanders and Barack Obama. They called Kennedy an energy radical who wants to end fossil fuels. Kennedy vowed to ban fracking before walking it back after intense criticism, according to the Trump campaign. Kennedy has opposed the Keystone Pipeline for years, even getting arrested outside the White House while protesting the project. Team Trump even renewed their false claims about Kennedy being anti-gun, pro-abortion, in support of raising taxes, and generally embracing the Democratic Party agenda. I just want to check something. Yeah, looks like I found another quotational error right here. I need to mark that down. Oh boy. Will these quotational errors or any of these errors never cease? Okay, so I just need to say fossil fuels, can you cracking? So I need to see radical energy, radical. And this is on page 35. Start at page 33 to 34. Maybe a few other things on page 33 to page 34. Okay. They called Kennedy an energy radical who wants to end fossil fuels. Kennedy vowed to ban fracking before walking it back after intense criticism, according to the Trump campaign. Kennedy has opposed the Keystone Pipeline for years, even getting arrested outside the White House while protesting the project. Team Trump even renewed their false claims about Kennedy being anti-gun, pro-abortion, in support of raising taxes and generally embracing the Democratic Party agenda. What a load of garbage. This seems like a desperate attempt by the Trump campaign to smear Kennedy. It was a sad day for America. Kennedy challenges Trump to debate. On May 7, 2024, Kennedy formally challenged Trump to a debate in an open letter on Twitter. In the letter, Kennedy said he was grateful to President Trump for calling attention to the rigged polling methodologies that base. Okay. In the letter, Kennedy said that he was grateful to President Trump for calling attention to the rigged polling methodologies that biased DNC influence media have used against you. We have this concern too, and I'm happy to show you the deceptive methodologies used by the DNC allied pollsters who pretend that I'm in single digits. You have correctly characterized these as fake polls. This is why we did our own poll with Zogby, the largest and most accurate poll of this election cycle. We had Zogby ask about head-to-head matchups. The results showed Trump easily beat Biden and Kennedy beat Trump in a nail-biter. In a three-way, Kennedy wrote to Trump, "You are ahead, but I'm coming up strong. Two new polls, CNN and Quinnipiac, have me above the 15% debate threshold. Another active vote has me at 26% among young voters. And you and I are tied among America's 70 million independents." Kennedy also stated he was drawing a lot of voters from Trump's former supporters. They're upset that you blew up the deficit, shut down their businesses during COVID, and filled your administration with swamp creatures. Kennedy then presented his challenge to President Trump. We're both going to be speaking at the upcoming Libertarian Convention on May 24 and 25, wrote Kennedy. It's perfect neutral territory for you and me to have a debate where you can defend your record for your wavering supporters. You yourself have said you're not afraid to debate me as long as my poll numbers are decent. Well, they are. In fact, I'm the only presidential candidate in history who has polled ahead of both major party candidates in head-to-head races. So let's meet at the Libertarian Convention and show the American public that at least two of the major candidates aren't afraid to debate each other. Kennedy checked with the Libertarian Convention organizers to see if they would host the proposed presidential Kennedy checked with the Libertarian Convention organizers to see if they would host the proposed presidential debate. According to Kennedy, I asked the convention organizers, and they are game for us to use our time there to bring the American people the debate they deserve. Wouldn't that have been amazing? Too bad that never happened. Within 24 hours, that post had 3.6 million views. Knowing both Kennedy and Trump were going to be at the Libertarian Convention, I was hopeful a debate would happen. Then I found out they were scheduled to speak on different days. Kennedy was scheduled to speak on May 24, and Trump was the keynote speaker for the next day. Kennedy had a 90-minute slot while Trump was scheduled for 2 hours. I believe this is the debate the public wants to see, but I also believe Trump understands he has nothing to gain from accepting the challenge. In my opinion, President Trump is of the mindset that a debate with Kennedy can only hurt him. I'm going to read that sentence again. In my opinion, President Trump is of the mindset that a debate with Kennedy can only hurt him. In a separate tweet on May 7th, Kennedy provided a sneak peek of what he intended to discuss during the potential debate. President Trump, one of the issues I hope to cover in our debate is your decision to lock down the country during COVID. With your lockdowns, you and President Biden shuttered our churches and stores and created 500 new billionaires in 500 days at the expense of everyone else. You decimated America's workers and businesses. I think Americans deserve a president who will never close our businesses or our churches or suspend our Constitution. Obviously, you disagree. Let's hash it out in a civil debate. I got some issues with what Kennedy said there, but I'm going to continue to read on. I think it's very important. Hopefully, I know that I do note this later. Trump closed things down for a couple weeks. He was the first one to close it down. He was also the first one to open up the country too and try to get it back on track. It was the states that balked and the states that decided to hold the people in their state hostage, in my opinion, in order to punish Trump any way that they could. And that continued under Biden. The next day, May 8th, Kennedy was a guest on Balance with Eric Bowen. During the interview, Kennedy followed up on his challenge to President Trump. We're both speaking at the Libertarian Convention in Washington, D.C. on May 24 and 25, Kennedy told the host. I've invited President Trump to debate. He's repeatedly said that he is willing to debate me anytime, any place. He said that he specifically would debate me as long as my poll numbers are up. I need to make a note about the convention, as I believe this should be capitalized. Page 37. All right. I've invited President Trump to debate. He's repeatedly said that he is willing to debate anytime, any place. He said that he specifically would debate me as long as my poll numbers are up. My poll numbers now in the latest Quinnipiac poll and the CNN poll exceed the 15% threshold. Asked if Trump responded to his debate challenge, Kennedy shared the disappointing news. We have not heard from him yet, but we hope to hear from him, and I hope to see him at the Libertarian Convention once again. Maybe I did that because it's a quote, but it's an audio quote, so I'll have to check that. Regarding ballot access, Kennedy promised we will be on all 50 states. Regarding ballot access, Kennedy promised we will be on all 50 by July. We're going to get about double of what we need to give us a big cushion because the DNC and the RNC are both trying to throw us off the ballot because they don't want to have this contest. Kennedy was asked if he's ready to debate Trump. Kennedy answered by recognizing how great a debater Trump is. I think President Trump is arguably, he's certainly the best debater in modern political history, I would say, since my uncle. A smile came across Kennedy's face as he pondered the idea of President John F. Kennedy and President Trump on the same debate stage. My uncle was also a very good debater, and who knows what would have happened if my uncle had come across Donald Trump. I can't imagine it, but you could argue that Trump is the best debater since the Lincoln-Douglas debate. He's gone through, in 2016, he went through 16 opponents and left them all in mayhem. The following day, May 9th, President Trump released a 4-minute clip calling Kennedy a radical left Democrat plant who has been selected to help crooked Joe Biden get reelected. It was heartbreaking to see Trump attack Kennedy like that. The attack seemed unnatural, almost forced, as if Trump was just going through the motions this time. Trump attacking Kennedy made the former president look like a hero turned villain in an action movie. The honeymoon was over. My hopes and dreams of seeing my two favorite anti-politicians on the same team were shattered on May 9, 2024. This was sad to see. No matter how much I tried to prepare myself over the last year for the inevitable, it still hit me hard in the gut to watch it in real time. Trump focused on the fact that Kennedy was not a conservative. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone who has been paying attention to Kennedy's speeches, interviews, and Twitter posts over the last 2 years. Kennedy considered himself a real Democrat, and so do I. At the very least, this shows Trump recognizes some conservatives identify with Kennedy's presidential platform. That's all Kennedy needs to take away. Votes from Trump. To make another note here, page 38. Enter after interviews. Maybe a comma missing right between interviews and Twitter, right there. Boom. Still editing in real time. All right. A few more minutes. You can go a few more minutes. Ooh. Okay. Where are we at? Here we go. Trump also claimed Kennedy was more liberal than anybody running, which makes me question what Trump's definition of a liberal is. Trump again, and I don't know if liberal should actually be, if liberal should be capitalized there. I'll make a note of that too. Trump again claimed a vote for Kennedy would essentially be a wasted protest vote that could swing either way, but would only swing against the Democrats if Republicans knew the true story about him. Apparently, Trump has not seen Kennedy's short documentary, Midnight at the Border, which gives Trump credit for what he's done to protect illegal aliens from entering the country, because Trump labeled Kennedy as an open border advocate. I need to see if also on page 39, this should be in italics. Midnight at the border. I'm going to put AC, which means ass catheter. All right. Nothing could be further from the truth. Kennedy is an advocate for a closed border for illegal entry. Kennedy has even stated that a nation without borders isn't a real nation. So either Trump was misinformed about Kennedy's stance on the border, or he is lying to his supporters and potential voters. I was frustrated and a bit surprised when Trump claimed Kennedy wants the borders to be wide open for more people to come in from prisons and mental institutions. Kennedy wants the opposite, and I believe Trump knows this. 2024 debate schedule. 2 debates were set between President Trump and Joe Biden, one on June 27th and another in September of 2024. The debate came with many stipulations put forth by the Biden team. One of those conditions was to exclude Kennedy from both debates. On May 15th, RFK Jr. accused the Biden campaign and the Trump campaign of colluding to lock America into a head-to-head matchup that 70% say they do not want. To run some campaign things. I don't know if campaign should be capitalized, but I'm just going to recheck that. I think it should be. And this is page, this would be page 39. Okay. They are trying to exclude me from their debate because they are afraid I would win. Keeping viable candidates off the debate stage undermines democracy. 43% of Americans identify as independents. If Americans are ever going to escape the hammerlock of the two-party system, now is the time to do it. These are the 2 most unpopular candidates in living memory. By excluding me from the stage, President Biden and Trump seek to avoid discussion of their 8 years of mutual failure, including deficits, wars, lockdowns, chronic disease, and inflation. The next day, President Trump claimed it was Joe Biden who didn't want Kennedy to participate in the debates because Jr. is far left of him and they would be debating over the same territory. He's also sharper and far more intelligent than Joe, all making for a bad combination of ingredients. I don't care if Jr. joins the debate, but right now his poll numbers are very low. He is not properly qualified in the states, and he seems to be on a downward path. Jr. needs more than his name to get on the stage. Kennedy responded by tweeting, "I'm happy to report that I will meet the criteria to participate in the CNN debate before the June 20 deadline. I look forward to holding President Biden and Trump accountable for their records in Atlanta on June 27 to give Americans the debate they deserve." During an interview with Scripps News, President Trump was asked if he would participate in a debate involving Kennedy. Trump claimed Kennedy's poll numbers were very low, though he didn't give specific numbers. "Well, I have no problem with him," said Trump. "I think he's really not doing well in the polls at all. His numbers have gone down a lot lately, but I would have no problem if he got whatever the threshold is. But he's very low, and he seems to be heading in the other direction, in the wrong direction. I would have no problem with it, though. If he qualified, I would have no problem." I guess Trump would have no problem. On May 18, 2024, President Trump spoke at the 153rd NRA meeting in Dallas, Texas, the same city where RFK Jr.'s uncle was murdered. I found it interesting President Trump would choose this time and place to go after Kennedy in a live speech. While on stage, a fly began to buzz around Trump, just as he was talking about Kennedy. It was a fitting moment, and Trump even joked about comparing the fly to Kennedy. Leading up to Trump's attack on Kennedy, Trump called the Republican Party the party of common sense. Several times between 2023 and 2024, Trump called Kennedy a common sense guy, adding they both have a lot in common. To some degree, Kennedy and Trump were able to break through the programming embedded in the two-party system and reach other common-sense Americans. Some people will give RFK Jr. a chance simply because they love his uncle, they love his environmental work, or his books. Some will give President Trump a chance because he's a WWE Hall of Famer, because of his books, or perhaps, maybe, because America's success during his first term. The country was on the right track when Trump was in the White House. Then came the dark winter with COVID-19 and the second dark winter with massive voter fraud in 2020. With Trump on the sidelines and Kennedy being attacked by the Biden administration in the United States of America folded back into the arms of the New World Order. We continued to repeat the mistakes of the past instead of using Trump as a model and standard for the future. Obama talked about hope while he sold out our country. Trump promised hope by restoring our country to what it was meant to be, the greatest nation on God's green earth. Just need to pause for a second. Page 41. Looks like another administration, the Biden administration. Page 41. All right. During his NRA speech, Trump went on a rampage against Kennedy, accusing his political opponent of destroying New York. Trump began the speech by calling Kennedy radical left. Trump had some advice for those who are considering voting for Kennedy. Don't think about it. Don't waste your vote. We need a conservative person with common sense. This guy is radical left who destroyed New York. That's when Trump got attacked by the fly while on stage. "He's radical left," Trump said of Kennedy as he swatted at the fly circling him. "RFK is radical left. Reminds me of this fly that's driving me crazy up here. This fly is brutal. I don't like flies." It's a great clip if you haven't seen it. It's definitely worth watching. After some brief laughter from the crowd, Trump sought to paint Kennedy as anti-gun and anti-NRA. "RFK Jr. calls you a terrorist group," Trump told the NRA crowd. "Can't vote for him." Somebody said, "Well, they like his policy on vaccine." The other day, he said, no, he'll go for the vaccine. He's got no policy on anything. He's radical left. He always has been. I respect President Trump a lot, but he is not looking at Kennedy's most recent stances on these two issues. Kennedy has changed his views on the NRA. He no longer sees them as a terrorist group. Kennedy was recently asked about that talking point and said he did not remember saying that, but if he did say that in the past, it was wrong, and that's not how he feels now. This is the classic political move to dig up old quotes from someone's past while ignoring their current views. President Trump knows better since he's been a victim of the same type of political smearing. The bottom line for Kennedy's stance on guns is simple. He is not going to take away your guns. And we need to look at the connection between gun violence and pharmaceutical medications. Other presidential candidates have said they won't take away your guns, but how many of them have said we need to look at the connection between gun violence and big pharma? Trump's claims about Kennedy's views on vaccines seem poorly researched. Kennedy is one of the strongest advocates for medical freedom and for doing your own research before taking the vaccine. Again, Trump knows better, as he once appointed Kennedy to run his Vaccine Safety Commission in 2017. Kennedy has strong views on vaccines, but he, like President Trump, has no intention of promoting or forcing vaccines on the American people. Both presidential candidates believe in the right to try method, which focuses on alternatives to the big pharma agenda. On May 9, 2024, Kennedy addressed the fake news media machine, bringing up every idiotic thing he's ever said on the internet. I cringe when I revisit my days as a partisan warrior, wrote Kennedy. Later, and especially through COVID, I came to realize that both left and right subscribe to unconscious orthodoxies that freeze our country in a holding pattern, actually a downward spiral. We are addicted to blame. It's tempting to score political points that way, but we have to move beyond that and see, even in our opponents, a genuine desire to heal this nation so that we all can thrive. Whoever is to blame for gun violence and teen pregnancy, it isn't the Republicans or the Democrats. It is both, and it is neither. Our problems arise from a deeper source than mere party difference, and the solutions must draw on a deeper source as well. RFK Jr. Well, we've hit about 10 pages here, and I think that is a great place to stop this one. This has been a lot of fun, and I did find a few more edits that need to be made. Just a few little simple ones here. We'll see how far that goes. But I just want to thank you all, and God bless you all. Have a great day. Until next time, remember, Jesus Christ loves you, and so do I.